Mr. Speaker, the Minister for Finance, in presenting this motion, expected the members of the House to understand that that was a renewal of the overdraft. But, Mr. Speaker, neither the wording of the order paper, in the order paper, or the wording in the resolution, and you must understand, Mr. Speaker, I got that resolution on Saturday at 12:15, thanks to your hardworking staff. They brought it to my house for me. It's a good thing I live somewhere that's accessible, so they could find me very easily. Mr. Speaker, it's the season to be jolly. So, Mr. Speaker, so it is not the order paper says the Parliament advises the Minister of Finance to borrow from commercial banks sums not exceeding $85 million as follows. That's what the order paper says. And the resolution speaks to, whereas provided by Section 63 of the Public Finance Act, Management Act number 14, the Minister of Finance, a foreign relation plan, borrow from a bank or other financial institution for capital or current expenditure of government. And, Mr. Speaker, the Minister of Finance expected people to automatically know it was a renewal of the overdraft. But, Mr. Speaker, what the Minister of Finance must understand is that there is a general feeling of concern, fear, and even panic as to government's borrowing. So anytime these things come to the Parliament, people get anxious and people get nervous. Mr. Speaker, I sat here this morning and I heard parliamentarians behave as if the only people who are politicians in this House were on that side. And they are not aware of what's happening this year or next year. They will not try to get back in Parliament. They are not doing things to get back in Parliament. But we on this side, we are the only ones who are worried about what's happening this year and next year. And all what you say, you're playing politics. You're playing politics. As if across, they play no politics. They are angels and they are saints. And all what they do is for the benefit of us. And we are the ones who are wicked and we are playing politics. Mr. Speaker, history will show you that this government must understand that there is a right to be, we have a right to be suspicious of many things they have done, Mr. Speaker. And it's our duty to speak of our suspicions, and it's our duty for them to explain, Mr. Speaker. So when people get concerned, when they see $85 million, and there's no explanation that is a renewal of the overdraft, it is our right, or it's the public right, to get nervous. Because this government, in the last 3 months, they've borrowed over $500 million. So it's too much. You can't get annoyed at people if you do not explain to them that you are renewing your overdraft. There is nothing in this resolution that says that the government is renewing the overdraft. Any time that came back to the Parliament every 6 months, and if you look at the one for the last, in June when it came, it said on the section 38.2, I think that was on the old Public Finance Management Act, it said for the renewal of the overdraft. So you can't expect us to just sit and accept what you say. Why must we accept it, Mr. Speaker? We have a right to debate, we have a right to ask questions. So these self-righteous postures that we pretend is only on this side that we are politicians, and only us want to win our seats, and you want to win our seats, and you're doing it for the glory of God and country. This is not true, Mr. Speaker. So I believe that we must be men and women in this honorable House and understand that the opposition will ask questions, the opposition will debate, and the opposition will make points that are worth making. This morning, Mr. Speaker, I heard members, and you know, I'm not going in this morning's debate, I'm just making a point, Mr. Speaker, that the government said they're almost annoyed. They're almost annoyed at us. I stood here in a debate, and I had a member attack me personally for 46 minutes on the budget debate. And I said nothing. 46 minutes, Mr. Speaker. Nobody stopped him and said that this is a budget debate. 46 minutes. But they have all these self-righteous postures. All these self-righteous postures, as if according to the old Pata people, Okabayo communion sans confesser. Mr. Speaker, this kind of hypocrisy, Mr. Speaker, must stop it. We know very well that members of this government, members of this government, they have facilitated and they've tolerated people who want to run against us in our seats. Nothing wrong in that. That's politics. But don't come here and pretend that you are self-righteous and you're only speaking about the high ideal. So we have a reason. So there is a reason why we are speaking about these things, Mr. Speaker. There's a reason why we need to get details, because we are concerned about the level of borrowing of this government. There's a reason why, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I'll tell you something further. Mr. Speaker. The member of First Office Cashies always tries to downgrade the fact that I'm in this house for 25 years, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I join, Mr. Speaker, a proud record of men and women, of men who have been in this house for 25 years, Mr. Speaker. And I'm proud of it, and the people of Cassis are proud of me, and I'm proud of them for re-electing me for 25 years in this honorable house, Mr. Speaker. So when you pretend that I am here, I'm not here because I'm lucky. I'm here because I've worked with the people of my constituency. I appreciate them, they trust me, and they've re-elected me, and they will re-elect me at the next general elections. And if you don't like it, so, Mr. Speaker, as I end, Mr. Speaker, I want to tell you that there is reason why we are asking these questions as it relates to these resolutions. There's a reason why. The reason why is because the people of St. Lucia are concerned, and we are concerned. We are concerned about how are these loans going to be repaid. We are concerned because we know that the government is in deep financial constraints. We know that their government is renting buildings that they cannot pay. They have not paid. We know there are great arrears of payables. We have not got a listing of the payables that this government owes at this point in time. And I'm going to give you the benefit and say it's COVID. All right, say it's COVID. But the fact is, the reality is, the country is in dire financial straits. And we have to admit it. And we have to find solutions to it. And don't blame the opposition. Blame the opposition all the time, Mr. Speaker. They have government offices. The rent has been paid from since March this year. In the Treasury, Mr. Speaker, my information tells me that any bill over $5,000 must get approval. So we have a right. And what the government understands is they are not the sole custodians of St. Lucia's future. The future of St. Lucia belongs to all St. Lucians, including members of the opposition. So it's our right to ask these questions. So you don't try to get annoyed and try to insult people when we ask these questions. We have concerns just like I don't have any building. I'm sorry, I don't have any building. I can take over there.
Honorable member, get back.
No, but he's saying I have no building, Mr. Speaker. I have no building. I'm saying to you, Mr. Speaker, this country's finances are not what the government wants to pretend it is. It's not. We heard, Mr. Speaker, that the government is assuming that the tourism industry will rebound and they'll be able to pay all the debts from tourism. Mr. Speaker, we have to be realistic. We have to be realistic and not sit down and put our and sit like peacocks and pretend that everything is good. Everything is not good. So we have a right to raise these issues. We have a right to raise the fact that these debts have to be paid sooner than later. The government is embarking on 5-year debts in design finance contracts. 5 years debt. There was no COVID when we did it. 5-year debts, Mr. Speaker. To buy a car, you can get a loan for a car in 7 years. The government is embarking on 5-year contracts, DFCs, at 5% interest. These are short-term loans, Mr. Speaker. Up to now, this Honorable House has not been told what is the value of these DFCs. How many of these DFCs have been given out? What are the terms of payment? How many of them? What are the terms of payment? See, we must ask these questions, but because these are relevant questions, Mr. Speaker. Last week, I was reading something, the IMF report on the Bahamas. And the IMF report said that the Bahamas will have to pay back these debts. So that soft money that we're getting now, we have to pay it back. Very soon, these countries will have to restructure their whole fiscal environment to pay back these debts. So we have a right to ask these questions. And we will never desist from asking these questions, in spite of how they try to make us believe that we are doing something wrong. We have nothing personal when I come and say, I'm nothing personal about anybody on this side. I'm nothing personal. Why am I saying personal? What I do not agree with is some of the policies under pretense. Under pretense, nothing personal. So when we raise these kind of issues in this Honorable House, we do not intend to attack people personally. These are relevant issues. Because it's our children, Mr. Speaker, who will pay. Talking about the finances of this honorable country, Mr. Speaker. The NIC that we've just spent millions of dollars from for a good cause. For years now, the NIC report has said that in 2050 the major fund will go broke. But we're kicking down the street. That's a fact. We as a country must begin to address these issues and stop playing the one-upmanship, trying to attack each other, 25 years nonsense. We must deal with these issues, Mr. Speaker, because the NIC, which is the future of the pensioners of this country, it will run broke in 2015 if we do not raise the contributions. 2050. And that is a fact. So why can't I raise it? Why must you attack me if I raise it? Why must you laugh and believe that you're trying all kinds of things, Mr. Speaker? We'll raise it. And the people of St. Lucia will have to decide, Mr. Speaker, whether what we are saying. You see why I can't continue this discussion? You see why I can't
Leader
continue?
of the opposition.
Mr. Speaker, it's difficult. It's very difficult. Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I will end that discussion. Allow the people of St. Lucia to decide sooner than later. I will allow the people of St. Lucia to decide whether borrowing $500 million in 3 months and not speaking about how you want to pay it back will do, Mr. Speaker. And I will allow history to determine who is speaking the truth and who is not speaking the truth. Because someday, whilst we believe that we own this country and we can do and say whatever we want, it goes around and around, Mr. Speaker. And someday, the truth will come to light. Finally, I want to say that I'm concerned that the finances of this country need to be looked at. Things are not as rosy as they seem. And we need, as a country, to stop the one-upmanship, to stop the pretense that we're not politicians and we don't want to win elections, and we need to think seriously about the future of this country for ourselves and for our children. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.